Welcome back to a Book a Day podcast. These days I am narrating some of the finest folk tales from different parts of the Indian subcontinent. And the folk tale that I've got for you today comes from my home state, that is Himachal Pradesh. It comes from the Spiti region of Himachal Pradesh where you'll find the Buddhist population. And this is in fact a Buddhist folk tale. It's called The Lama, the Servant, and His Fortune. So, without any delay, let me start narrating this folk tale called The Lama, the Servant, and His Fortune. Here we go. Just below the foothills of the Annapurna range lived a Lama in a small stone-built house in a very isolated place. He was a very holy person and spent most of his time in meditation. As the Gompa or monastery was some distance away up a steep hill, his visits there were infrequent, and it was only on festival days that he made a special effort to go there. He had a young man, Dinza, as a servant who cooked his meals for him and attended to all the chores in the house. The Lama, being a strict vegetarian, took only very simple, light meals, often of some rice gruel and maybe a boiled vegetable or two. True to his Buddhist religious philosophy, he abhorred taking the life of any creature. Though this form of living was ideally suited to the master, the servant did not enjoy it at all, and pined to have meals with meat of any sort. Dinza constantly asked the Lama to allow him to kill a sheep or a goat, for there were plenty roaming in the hills. The Lama vehemently forbade any killing. One fine day, Dinza saw a fat sheep which had strayed from its flock wandering about by the house. He chased it around, eventually caught it, and brought it to the house. Then, keeping it in a room downstairs, he went up to the room immediately above it and put a rope down through a hole in the floor, and tied the sheep with a slip knot, the other end being secured in the top floor room. Having done this, he went to the Lama, who was at this time deep in meditation, and disturbing him, said, "O sir, I have found a sheep, one which belongs to the neighboring farm, wandering about near the house. I brought it into the room in case it is eaten by wolves. It is liable to struggle. Therefore, could you hold the rope which I have tied around its neck?" I managed to put the rope from the room upstairs. Meanwhile, I shall go and inform the owner about the sheep. The Lama agreed and went to the room. The servant, pretending to go out, went down to the room where the sheep was and started prodding it with a stick. The sheep began to jump about and run hither and thither. As this was happening, the Lama kept pulling the rope, and the slip knot got tighter and tighter, and thus strangled the animal. After some time, the sheep died, and the servant ran upstairs and informed Lama about the sheep which was deemed to have died naturally. Now, since the sheep was dead anyway, the servant asked permission to cut it up and cook it for himself. The Lama agreed to it, as it appeared to be an unintentional killing. The servant cooked the meat and enjoyed it for several days. While all this was happening, the shepherd boy who was looking after the sheep was wandering about looking for the lost sheep and saw through the window of the Lama's house what had happened. When he went and told the story to his parents, they were very angry and complained to the Lama. The Lama, realizing the servant's dastardly act, chased him away immediately. Dinza, gathering his few belongings, went off hoping to get some sort of employment. As he was wandering thus, he came across another young man walking in the same direction. He got in conversation with the youth, and soon he was telling him of all his escapades and also that he was looking for ways to earn money. Thereupon, the young man confessed that he was a thief and was always looking for an opportunity to make money. Therefore, he asked Dinza to join him so that they could work together to seek their fortune. They walked along until evening and saw a big house in a village in the distance. The thief, telling Dinza to stay on the roadside, went towards the house and made some enquiries from the neighborhood. He returned and narrated what he had discovered. According to the servants, the house belonged to a rich farmer who had just passed away. His only daughter was living in the house, while his son had run away and was never seen again. At this point, it should be realized that often village folk are very naive, honest, and forthcoming. Therefore, they can also be fooled by unscrupulous people. A woman alone is especially vulnerable. After finding out all this information, the thief laid out his plan and said to Dinza, "There is only a woman in the house at the moment. Her father is dead and his body is in a room. You climb through the window and hide somewhere in that room. Then I will come and tell her that I am the dead brother. She is bound not to believe me. Then I shall tell her to ask the spirit of her dead father, who is there to confirm what I say. When I come to the room and ask the corpse whether I am his lost son, you reply, 'Yes, you are my son.' Once she believes this, I can at least secure half her wealth, which I can share with you." Dinza agreed to this plan, climbed into the room where the body was, and hid near the corpse. A short while later, the thief went to the house and knocked at the front door. A servant opened the door and took him up to the young woman. She, seeing him, asked, "Who are you? Why have you come here?" He replied, "Oh sister, I am your long-lost brother. Can't you recognize me?" "No, I cannot recognize you because I was only a child when you ran away. Only my father could have known you, but alas, he is dead now. He died yesterday." Expressing his grief at this, the thief said, "Sure, it is difficult for me to prove who I am. Let us go into the room and ask the body whether I am his lost son. I am sure, as you know, his spirit will be there until he is buried or cremated." As mentioned before, women, especially in these villages, are very foolish in these matters. With her strong belief in the spirits of her ancestors, the woman agreed to the proposition, and both went into the chamber where the corpse was lying. Enter the chamber, the thief asked, "Are you there, father?" Dinza answered, "Oh yes, oh yes." Then the thief asked, "Father, I have come to ask you, am I not your long-lost son?" "You are my son," came the reply from Dinza. The thief came out of the room, and the young woman was convinced that this man was her lost brother. He now said, "Dear sister, I am unable to stay here, for I have got some urgent business matters to attend to. I shall give you my share of the property and make over the house to you. All I ask you is to give me my share of the estate in which there is money so that I can carry it. The dead farmer was quite rich. Apart from owning land and cattle, he had also saved money in the form of gold with the purpose of giving it as his daughter's dowry. This he kept hidden in the house. The young woman agreed to the proposition of the thief and handed over a heavy bag of gold. The thief, saying farewell, took his booty and went away as fast as he could. In the early morning, Dinza came out of the room unseen by anyone and, not seeing the thief, went to the front door and asked the lady whether her brother was awake. She said, "Oh, I gave him his share of money, a bag of gold, last night, and he went straight away because he had several other appointments." When Dinza heard this, he was furious and realized the thief's treachery. He determined to catch up with him somehow. Having asked the lady whether he could borrow a horse, and she having consented, he jumped on the beast and went on his way. He galloped for a few hours, and when it was approaching midday, he saw from afar the thief sitting under a tree resting. As he did not realize that Dinza would be on a horseback, he took his own time to rest after a long journey on foot. At first, Dinza thought of confronting him, but as he was on his own and unarmed, while the thief was armed, he thought the better of it. He bent his head down and galloped past the thief, stopping at a point out of sight, and took a new boot and dropped it on the road. Then hid behind some bushes and watched. He then rode a little bit further and dropped the second boot. Having done this, he hid the horse and himself in a nearby thicket. The thief, having resisted, got up and started walking. He had not walked very far when he saw the first boot. Seeing this, he thought that the horseman must have dropped it in his hurry. Though it was a new boot, it was of no use to him. He thought, what a shame, a pity he did not drop both the new boots, and proceeded a little distance further. The midday sun was very hot, and the weight of the bag of gold was extremely heavy. He was getting very tired. As he walked a little bit further, he saw the second boot lying on the side of the road. He exclaimed, "Here is the second boot. I must go back and get the other one, then I shall have a new pair of boots." Saying this, he picked it up and turned back to pick up the other boot. He was so tired that the bag of gold was weighing him down. So he looked around and hid the bag of gold in a thicket and retraced his steps. Now Dinza was observing this all the time. No sooner had the thief gone out of sight than Dinza came out of hiding, picked up the gold, and securing it on his saddle, rode away with it. And that's how the story ends. I hope you really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening. I'll come back in the next episode with another story, another folk tale rather. Thank you very much. I'll catch you the next time. Thank you.